Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody for being here today. Today, we're laying out a grim reality to our state in facing if the federal reimbursement allowance, the FRA, and related programs are not extended. The FRA program reduces the burden of Missouri Health Net expenses on the state budget and maximizes federal dollars coming into our state and affects hundreds of thousands of Missourians. When the General Assembly adjourned regular session back in May, they did so without passing legislation that extended this program. This must be passed as soon as possible, or necessary and substantial budget restrictions will need to be made. This is extremely unfortunate, considering we are witnessing general revenue reports that are outpacing projections and our economy that is very strong. Come July 1, if FRA is not extended, my administration will be forced to make budget restrictions across state government, and the consequences would be felt by all Missourians. The fiscal year 2022 operating budget includes estimated revenues from the FRA program and other allowances and assessments to fund primary components of the Missouri Health Net program. Failure to extend these programs would cost the state of Missouri an estimated $591 million in the fiscal year 22 and $788 million in the fiscal year 23. Payments from the Missouri Health Net program would also be reduced by $1.52 billion in 22 and $2 billion in 23 if these programs are not extended. Without the extension of the FRA and other allowances, revenues that are used to balance the FY22 budget will simply not exist. If politically maneuvering over extending this program persists, the FY22 budget passed in early May will be direct conflict with our state's financial reality. To be clear, this means that we would need to close a nearly $1.4 billion funding gap over the next 2 years, meaning investments in our state through education, workforce development, and infrastructure would have to be put on hold, and that is frankly unacceptable. Our investments focus on improving our state and preparing our future generations for tomorrow, and without them, our state could fall behind. I know I'm not willing to accept that, and I hope that the General Assembly is not either. We have been transparent with legislatures on the restrictions could take place we have been transparent with legislators on what restrictions could look like and what is on the line, so it is only right that Missourians know too. Restriction and vetoes would include and withholds to the following: higher education, increases in funding to our community colleges and four-year universities, capital improvement projects, K through 12, early literacy programs, school safety planning, A+ and dual credit program funding, career center improvements, school transportation funding, social services, foster care and adoption services, health care, nursing homes, independent living centers, emergency managed service providers, health care providers serving those with developmental disabilities, and transportation for those. The people that I had just listed affects every one of us, from the people around our own hometowns. These are the people you live with. These are the people you go to church with. These are people in all of our communities all across the state of Missouri. This almost affects every capacity that we have in state government to be able to go down this road. Even recent legislative wins that we are eager to sign would effectively be rejected due to the pending budget gap. My staff and I have countless conversations with House and Senate leadership, and they are aware of these harmful consequences of our state and Missourians if we fail to extend these programs. Some members of the General Assembly have expressed concern about certain health care coverages that are allowed through Missouri Health Net that they believe are not pro-life. While I disagree with their assertions, a potential call would allow the opportunity for legislators to address these concerns. Let me be clear. I am pro-life. I have supported pro-life measures my whole career and always will. However, narrow political interests cannot be allowed to hold hostage vital health care funding and the success of our economy. You will find that I have consistently stood for life and advocated for the unborn. My administration signed Missouri's Heartbeat Bill that was the strongest pro-life legislation in the nation and in Missouri's history. Thanks to decades of conservative pro-life leadership, my administration has also presided over a period that has seen the lowest number of abortions in Missouri's history. No language in my call would forfeit any of this progress we have made on pro-life policy here in Missouri. While House and Senate leadership, Republican legislators, and myself are united in the fight to protect life, there is no need to jeopardize our strong economy and thousands of livelihoods to have a fight that erodes the trust Missourians have placed in us to lead. My administration is ready to act on the compromises that have previously been agreed upon. Our solution addresses the concerns that have been raised while keeping Missouri federally compliant. For those who want to move the goalposts yet again, know that you and you alone will own this and the devastating effects on Missourians and our economy if the FRA is not extended. This is a time that demands leadership among legislators. My office has done all we can do. We are counting on the General Assembly to deliver and protect all Missourians. We will continue to work with House and Senate leadership to come to a solution by noon tomorrow. But again, let me be clear. If FRA is not extended during a special session before July 1, there will be no other opportunities. Time is at the essence, and we must get this done. Thank you, and God bless. Kelly?
Questions? So FRA doesn't expire until October. Why couldn't, if there's no agreement by tomorrow, couldn't they come in the week of July 1st or, shortly after July 1st to try and figure out a solution?
Yeah, true. And by the end of that, you'd have to have an emergency clause to even get it into effect by then, which we doubt that that's very much of a possibility to get that done. Number two, we'd have to resubmit a plan to CMS, which we know we've been very fortunate in Missouri that when we did the FRA originally, whoever put that together did some pretty articulate work on that. We're one of the highest reimbursement states in the United States. And if CMS had their way and the current administration, we won't get as good a deal as we had. There's no doubt about that we will lose funding if we change plans, because they don't like our plan that we have now because of the resources we get back.
How targeted are these cuts? It looked like you had done a lot of cutting in or withholds in foster care and adoption, and that is a prime thing for the Speaker of the House. Did you target these at?
It has nothing to do with the Speaker of the House whatsoever. I mean, you look at the mental health issue across this country is going to be affected on that. You look at disabled kids all across this state. We go to different areas that are trying to help disabled people to get them back in the workforce. All of these things are going to be affected. I mean, I'm a foster. My son's a adopted parent. I mean, I get it firsthand. But when you start cutting out these kind of programs and taking opportunity away from everyday Missourians, this is critical. This is things we've never seen before. And when you look at 591 just to start off, and I get there's CARES Act funding here, but you still have to count that. And if it goes back in the legislative session in January, even for them to get it done, it doesn't get effect till next August. So, I mean, the implications of this are huge. It's more than many of us has ever seen before, even pre-pandemic that we're looking at. And it's just, for this to kind of be held up hostage at a time like this is not the time.
You mentioned that you had already come to an agreement on, I guess, the contraceptives piece of this. Why can't you just craft your call narrowly enough to include what you all agreed upon and not include the Planned Parenthood piece, which is what I think you're referring to? That's the holdup now.
I think what I've said all along. I've worked with the House and the Senate leadership and the members of both chambers trying to figure out a solution to this. There's no use to move forward if you don't have a solution to it. And we're continuing to do that. We'll do it for the remainder of the day, the remainder of the night, until tomorrow. But noon's cutoff time. So if we don't have something called by tomorrow at noon, then it's not happening.
Governor, have you spoken to some of these legislators who you say are holding the health care hostage, trying to persuade them to back down?
I think you could save us both a little embarrassment from the question you just asked, unless you want me to repeat what I've said before when you ask questions. I am not going to recognize Missouri Independent. It is plainly a nonprofit organization out of Virginia that is here for a political purpose. You know that, I know that. And it's not fair to the reporters that are here in Missouri that are trying to do the reason to report the news. It's not fair to them. And again, I've said that to you 2 or 3 times, and there's no need to keep doing this at press conference. Come up and ask me that. Thank you very much.
Governor, is there anything else in this call other than the FRA? You know, you've had a request for more than 13 special sessions since they've adjourned.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you're considering putting in this call other than the FRA?
No, I mean, I'm just telling you right now, the FRA is the most critical piece that I've seen. Ever since the existence of this, there has never been to this point where we haven't passed it. And frankly, when the whole budget is on the presumption that it is going to get passed, when the House and the Senate and myself prepared a budget with the FRA, and there's just no way to do it. It's just, we're just in a situation that we've never been in before, and we've got to figure out a way to get out of it. And hopefully we will. I think there's a lot of good people working on it, and we're going to see what we get done.
I will take one more question.
Have you been in discussions with some of the lawmakers who have been holding up this debate, and what kind of feedback have you been getting from them?
Yeah, we've worked with most people that's been involved in this that you're reading. I mean, we've talked to Senator Onder, we've talked to Senator Whelan, we've talked to Representative Shores, my staff has, along with leadership, trying to find a solution to this. We presented some language to both of them to be able to take a look at from the governor's office. It's a matter of trying to figure out, can we move forward or not without putting in jeopardy of being in violation of CMS and without being in violation of the federal government. We're kidding ourselves if we lose this FRA funding, or even if it gets having to be reorged by the federal government, it's going to cost the state millions upon millions of dollars, probably hundreds of $1 million. There's no use to take a chance in that. It's probably one of the best systems in the country, and here we are today trying to get this thing across the finish line. And why I say tomorrow at noon, I want everybody to understand that, it's just a matter for it to go through the House and the Senate is almost, you're down to 5 days. And that's the equivalent to even get it through one chamber to the other, and that's it. There will be no back and forth after that, so there will be no changes. All right, thank you.